Have you got a leaky transfer case seal on your pickup?
Well, today I'm going to show you how to fix that. Super simple process, but wanted to document it so in case you got any questions, you know exactly just how to do it. So this back here is a 2004 LB7 Duramax, which you guys would not believe the hard time that I've had trying to find a transfer case output seal. I've been to a lot of the local auto parts stores, some of the big box names, and their computer says it'll work for an LB7, but I get that seal home and it does not work. So if you have a Duramax, I cannot recommend enough the guys that hooked us up, which is Merchant Automotive. And I'll leave a link down below. If you've got an LB7, this right here is going to work for you. These guys are the Duramax and Allison specialist. So they're not sponsoring me to say this or anything. I bought this full price, but this was the only place I could find a seal that's actually going to work for this truck. So to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to pull this thing over into my shop. Please excuse my shop. It's super messy. We're in the process of winterizing the side-by-side, so putting doors and a back glass, and we'll have videos on all that stuff coming soon. But my little boy has just taken, he's 2, so let's give him a pass here, but he has taken literally everything out of my toolboxes and just scattered it across the floor. We're gonna have to clean that up before the dogs drag them off. So let's start her up. Took a little bit to crank. It's 43 out today. Let's get in the shop. I don't think we're gonna make it in one swoop here. Not quite. That ought to be good. All I'm really going to use for this project is my ratchet with an 11mm socket on it, the brand new seal that I bought, and a pair of needle nose. You might need a flathead screwdriver or something like that to pry the seal out. Mine has been pried on 3 or 4 times now because, you know, I've had trouble finding one of these. So mine ought to come out pretty easy. And whenever I have put it back in, it just goes in pretty easy. So I think I can put this in my hand. So first things first, before you even crawl under there, block the wheels off so it can't roll forward or backward. Because as soon as you take that drive shaft down, it's going to want to roll downhill one way or another. And last thing you want is your truck to roll over you when you're trying to fix it. But the first thing you're going to do is come back here to your drive shaft. This is your drive shaft right here. And there's 4 11mm bolts back here. So you're going to unbolt all 4 bolts, pull the drive shaft down. And all that, and it may be stuck in there a little bit, so you may have to get something behind there, a pry bar or something, to try to pry it forward and then let it fall down. And then you're just going to pull the yoke out up there. So we'll go ahead and break these loose. And now that mine are broke loose, I can pretty well just spin them out. That one there looks like it's trying to strip a little. And with all 4 bolts out, we should be able to pull this thing out. Now, like I say, you may have to pry from behind. I'm going to use my old ratchet here. I'm not too worried about it. It's pretty tough. And pry out the U-joint. And this thing will come falling, so I'm going to try to catch it with my body here. Okay, you can see the drive shaft is down there. So now we're going to come to the other end here. You can see where it's been slinging fluid everywhere. But now we're just going to pull it out from this end. You can see how easy this is coming out. I apologize, I'm trying to do this one-handed here, guys. This will just come out. Try to be careful not to let it bang up against the ground too much. You don't want to dent or scratch the crap out of that. Now, you can see my leaky seal here. You may try to get, and you can see how I've done this poor thing, get a screwdriver behind there. The metal's pretty soft compared to the actual transfer case. But you can see I've got this thing pried up enough that I ought to be able to just grab on with a pair of needle nose and pull this thing out. And out it comes, and you can see I lost a little bit of fluid here. I'm not too worried. I actually overfilled this thing a little bit prior to now we're gonna unbox our new seal. Oh yeah, and if yours has been leaking for mine like 2 years, you may wanna go ahead and clean it up around here before putting your new one on. The new one should just go on like this. If you have trouble getting it in, you might take you something fairly soft like a piece of wood to try to push it in. You don't want to beat and bang on this thing too much, otherwise it'll get out of shape like mine. Okay, ended up having a bit of a time getting that in there, but you can see I've got it in there pretty well flush. Might give it another few whacks here. Took me a hammer, and I didn't hammer directly on this because you're probably going to bend this little metal lip. Took me a 2x8 and just kind of put it on all the sides like this and tapped it in there, because this is flat. That metal won't bend too bad if it's flat, especially if you're only doing it about 4 times. But now I've got that pretty close. I might give it a few more whacks. Then basically we can put the yoke back in there and put our bolts back in back there. Hey, would you look at that? It fits pretty good. Hopefully it'll stop our leaking. So now if you really wanted to, you could clean up around down here and just check it occasionally for leaks, like you can see I've been having here. But I think this is good to go. I've got the yoke put back in up here. I can hear it's pushing out air pressure whenever I set it in there. And back here, I'm sure these have a torque spec. If I find them, I'll leave them in the comments. But I just got them good and tight to where I know they're not going to come off. I think we got the job done. So now if a person wanted to, you could go ahead and top off your fluid in there if you lost some. I'm sure I probably need to at some point. But if I'm not mistaken, this particular pickup, and look this up, don't exactly quote me on it, guys, but I think it takes 2 quarts of Auto Track 2. Most GMs seem like transfer case takes Auto Track 2, especially for these older ones here. But that's a video for another day. I think now, since I know I haven't lost too awful much fluid, we're going to take this thing for a test drive. All right, guys, until the next video, take care.